We're about to dive into an idea that feels, well, totally backwards. The idea that to actually move faster, you first have to slow way down. So let's unpack this paradox, because it turns out that a little strategic patience might just be the secret weapon you've been looking for.
Okay, so let me ask you something really simple. How do you move faster? The answer seems obvious, right? You just go faster. You cut a few corners, you push harder, you just grind it out. But what if that's the absolute worst advice for the kind of work that really matters?
And this is where we need to draw a really important line. For simple, repeatable stuff like brushing your teeth, yeah, sure, going faster works just fine. But when you try to apply that same logic to something complex, like, say, developing a brand new product or leading a huge organizational change, that's where everything starts to completely fall apart.
And that brings us to the big idea for today, the speed paradox. The simple truth is, for any complex system, whether it's a piece of software, a business strategy, or a research project, rushing is the absolute enemy of speed. Haste doesn't get you there faster, it just creates a whole lot of chaos. Now look, this isn't some new age productivity fad. For decades, some of the smartest systems thinkers on the planet have been screaming from the rooftops about the massive hidden costs of just trying to hurry up. So let's take a look at what they figured out.
Fred Brooks, in his legendary book on software, just absolutely nailed it. His point was that the very first time you build anything complicated, it's not the real thing. It's a prototype. You're still just learning what it is you're supposed to be building. So rushing that learning process is totally pointless. You're just speeding toward a dead end.
And that learning, it has a very real price tag. Way back, an engineer named Charles Babbage noticed something wild. The first version of a new machine could cost 5 times more than the second. Think about that for a second. That extra cost isn't just about parts and labor. It's the price of your education. It's the cost of all the mistakes and wrong turns you have to make before you finally get it right.
And it's not just about money. It's about time, too. Forrester, one of the pioneers of systems dynamics, had this famous rule of thumb. He'd say, take your best, most optimistic guess for how long a project will take, and then you need to multiply it by 3. Now that sounds pretty cynical, doesn't it? But it's actually just realistic. The real world is always way more complicated than our plans, and rushing just guarantees you'll slam into every single one of those complications. And you know what? All that chaos and rushing, it literally gets baked into the final product. Melvin Conway observed that any system you build will end up looking exactly like the communication structure of the team that built it. So if your team's communication is chaotic and rushed, well, you're literally designing a chaotic and broken system from day one. Okay, so we've pretty much established that rushing complex work is a total disaster. It costs more money, it takes more time, and the result is usually worse. So what's the alternative? Well, the answer lies in mastering the art of strategic groundwork. And there's a really powerful concept for this from Japan. It's called Nemawashi. Literally, it means digging around the roots. Think of it like preparing the soil before you plant a tree. It's all the work you do behind the scenes, building agreement, getting feedback before any big decision is made. That way, when it's finally time to move, everybody's already on board and ready to go. So what does digging around the roots actually look like? This isn't just about making small talk. No, it's a very deliberate process. It's designed to make sure that when you finally pull the trigger on an idea, you can move with incredible speed because everyone is already rowing in the same direction. So let's see how it's actually done. So here's the playbook. You're having informal, one-on-one chats. You're building relationships and getting feedback super early in the process. You're making sure the right people are in the loop. The whole point is to build consensus quietly, behind the scenes, so that by the time you walk into the big, formal meeting, the decision is basically already made. No arguments, no surprises, just action. But let's be really clear here. Slowing down in this sense is not about being lazy or putting things off. It's about being incredibly strategic. It's about investing time upfront to build trust, to prevent having to do the same work twice, and to aim for a steady, sustainable pace, not just a frantic burst of speed that leads to burnout. All right, so let's try to pull all of these threads together into one big final takeaway. How do we use this idea to get better, not just at the things we do, but at the very way we do them? You see, all those warnings from guys like Brooks and Forrester, they all find their answer in this idea of Nemawashi. When you do that thoughtful, careful groundwork up front, you are systematically getting rid of the biggest things that will slow you down later. People pushing back,
costly rework because of a simple misunderstanding, and just a ton of time wasted going in the wrong direction.
And this, right here, is the ultimate goal. It's this beautiful loop. First we create something, then we improve that thing we created. But the final, most powerful step is when we improve the very process of how we create. That's the mindset that going slow to move fast really unlocks.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Take a hard look at your own work, your projects, your team, your goals. Where have you been trying to just rush through? And where might the truly fastest path to the finish line actually begin with a much, much slower start?